Good morning. Gary back from G&H Honey Bees, and today is the second video I'm going to do about my mead making. And first things first, I want to clear up something that I may have misspoken in my last video. I've got two different sizes of jugs here. The larger jugs are not US, they're imperial size jugs, and they are 4.5 liters. And the jugs that I'm going to be, what I'm doing today is I'm racking the liquid off of this jug into this jug. And this jug is a US gallon, which is 3.8 liters. I had the measurements right, but I had the naming conventions wrong. So, and it's really good in a way. Having the larger jug to start the brew in allows for more volume, and when I rack it off I can remove all the berries, and you can see at the bottom here there's a good layer of sediment, so all that stuff is going to stay behind, and once it's racked off into this jug it will have very little headspace left, and the headspace is the area between the top of the liquid and the top of the jar. And that will allow for the gas that's going to be coming out of this to build up the CO2 layer in here, pushing any oxygen out that gets in here during this process. So, first things first. Now, how I know this is ready for racking. When this is really active, I take a strong flashlight and I hold it up against the jar, and normally you can see the effervescence of the CO2 being made. And the bubbling has slowed down to a point where it's like once every 3 minutes, which is pretty low. It should be every 10 seconds or so that you should see a big bloop of gas coming out of there. Or that's what I've experienced anyway. And there is a bit of white foam on the top here, but it's not like it was when it started. So I'm under the assumption right now that it's pretty much finished. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the airlock out of here, and I'm just going to stand this over here on this clean towel because I'm going to reuse it. And now this is my siphon with the filter screen on the bottom of it. And it's a very fine screen, so it'll filter out most of the large solids. And that goes into the jug, not quite to the bottom. And then I'm going to screw this in. I'm trying to do this carefully so not to stir up any of that sediment in the bottom. And then I'm going to take my bottling wand, and these have all been soaked in Star San sanitizing liquid. So they should be clean. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump this so that I can push all the liquid and air out of the tube out to the end of the bottling wand. Do this gently. I want to get my paper towel that's been soaked in Star San up here at the top. And I just want to splurk a little bit of that out the end. So now this is pretty much full, and I'm going to get a sample jar. Now this is just going to be automatic siphoning action here. And I don't know if you can see, but that jar is filling up. Okay, now I'm going to put this into the big jug. Now that bottling one has a valve on the bottom of it that when it closes it won't allow any liquid out, but when it's dropped right into the other jug right on the bottom, it pushes that valve up and allows the liquid to flow. Now you can see here in this pump that there's no air. If I just taken and put the bottling wand in here and pump that, it would still siphon, but it would be drawing a lot of air. There'd be a big bubble of air in this pump. So that's why I turn it upside down first, to get as much of the air out as possible. And you can see that's transferring over quite nicely. Oh, it smells good. I can smell it just from the fumes coming out of this jug. So I'm just going to gently tilt this over a little bit. Bring this up just a little bit. Okay. Alright, so that part is done. So I'm just going to take the airlock, I'm going to put it right back on this jug, and I'm going to swirl this a little bit. And I don't know, you can see the bubbles coming out. There's a lot of CO2 still in here. So this is going to push any air out that's in the jug. It's not going to hurt it in the least. So you can see the bubbles coming out here. And that is going to sit over here again for another 2 weeks, because there's going to be some more sediment come out of that. Now, I want to take a reading on this. So I'm going to get my whatchamacallit here for the alcohol and my cylinder. Now this stuff has all been cleaned in Star San. I'm just using a regular turkey baster to transfer this liquid over. How's that? That's floating. And that is at 1.004. Put that back in here. So this is for a taste test later. Now, the piece of paper. So what I need to do is write on this. .004. And this started, the specific gravity when I started was 1.084. I'm going to do a couple of gazintas here. So 0.080. So it comes out to about 10.8% alcohol, which is about right for the yeast that I used, which was regular Fleischmann's Active Dry yeast. And this was racked on February the 2nd, 22. And I'm just going to put that piece of paper right back on that bottle. And I'm going to let it sit like that for a couple of weeks, and then I'm going to take another reading on it. And if it's still at 1.004, then I know that the fermentation process is stopped and I can bottle it. So that's how I rack my liquids over. I'm going to clean all this up now, get all the dragon blood out. This is the dragon blood mix. And I get that all out of the siphon and all the bits of equipment here. Re-soak them in star sand and get them cleaned up, and then I'm going to rack off the blackberry orange because it is done bubbling too. The cranberry is still quite active, so I'm not doing it today. So that's how I basically rack off my brews. And we've got there's a good amount of headspace left in this jug, but it's still small enough with the amount of CO2 that's still coming out of this liquid to push any air out up here and get it out the airlock. And the reason you want to get the air out is because air has oxygen in it, and oxygen will mix with something called acetofacids or something like that, and it will start eating the alcohol and turn it vinegar, and that's not what we're going for. So you want to get as much air out of there. You don't want to introduce any air into it when you're trying to rack it off or anything. Now as far as this mix goes in here, I've heard that you can take that lees off of that and start another brew with it, because it's just active yeast that has gone dormant because it's reached its alcohol tolerance. But because it's got all that fruit in there, I'm just going to put it in the compost and clean the jug out and get it ready for another brew. So that's what I've got for you today. I'm just going to continue on doing the exact same thing I just did with the dragon blood. I'm going to do the orange, blackberry orange, and then it's going to sit for 2 weeks, and then perhaps I'll bring you back once this is ready to bottle and show you how I bottle it up. Okay? Hope you're all having a good day. Oh, and just in case you're wondering what this is over here on the side, we bought some ginger from the grocery store, and we hadn't used it all, and it had started to bud. And I put a couple of pieces of it in this potting soil, and lo and behold, it's grown like a bad weed. Now water it every, I don't know, 3 days. Put maybe a quarter of a cup of water on it, and it's growing quite well. So anyway, that's what that is. So I hope you're all having a good day. We'll talk to you again on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.